How to braid extensions into short hair. So let's get into it. I'm using Kanekalon braid hair extensions. You want to make sure that it is feathered at the end. We do not want blunt ends when you're using hair extensions, so it looks more natural looking. And then what we're going to do is we're going to separate it into two rows, okay? These two rows are going to be from one side and then the other side of the head. So I'm just going to get small pieces, okay? And then I'm just making sure that they're the same size. We want to make sure that the braids on both sides of your head, they are exactly the same. So that's why we want to make sure that every strand we get is the same. You can see that is going to be going to the right side of my head, and then the other row is going to go to my left side of my head. So that is kind of like the gist, so you can see visually where those extensions are going to be placed on my head. And then from here on out, we want to just make sure that they're all the same size. And we're just going to fill up those rows until they are good and ready. The reason why we're sectioning off each of these strands, so that way it's so much more easier to place it on the head. And the reason why I have a braid rack, because it's more organized and so much more easier to pick up the hair and then put it on your head. If you do not have a braid rack, you don't have to stress. You can literally find any type of surface, and I'll show you in just a second how to place them. On the side right here, I am just putting, because I don't have that much space on my braid rack, I am just placing them on an upwards motion. The two strands, but it's the same concept. One's going to the left side and one's going to the right side. If you don't have a braid rack, you can go ahead and tie off each hair on any type of surface or edge, just like so. You're just gonna wrap the strand and then tie it off, so that way the hair is not gonna go anywhere. So that's what you can do if you don't have a braid rack. I do want to mention I used 1.5 packs on my head. If you have more hair, you can put less. If you have less hair, you can put more. But it does depend on how much hair you want to put. If you want really big and thick braids, you've got to put more extensions. So just a little tip. I am now making sure I'm using my rat tail comb. I made sure that it is a straight middle line. I'm using my pomade and I'm just distributing the product throughout my hair and all around my hairline. That way there is no frizziness, no little baby hairs coming out, and the style will last way longer when you have braid pomade. Once you're done with putting the product, you can get your rat tail comb and then just brush that product through the hair, so then it is ready to go and prepped up for braiding. Then we're going to tie off the rest of the hair, and then the key into really getting the short hair into the braids is this technique. I'm getting my elastics, I am tying it into different sections, like little sections. As you can see, I clip it off. I'm getting my black elastic and then tying a little section. And we're just going to be doing that 4 more times as we go up. We're going to just do the same method. So the whole reason why we're doing this is because we have short hair. We want to make sure that all of those little short hairs are going to be inside the braid. A lot of times when people just braid it without doing this elastic method at the bottom, your actual hair will pop out of the braid, or the braid just will not last long. Like, it'll literally come off towards the nape area. So we just don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that it is locked in, that these elastics are going to hold those like hairs together and bind like the braid to your scalp at the bottom area. So this is why I do it. Now, if you don't have short hair, you don't even have to worry about this whole method that I'm doing right here. You can just literally just braid it, skip this part, and just watch me how to feed in the braid. So this is what I'm doing. I'm making sure that I'm loosening each of these elastics. The reason why, we're gonna make sure we get the crochet hook and we're gonna crochet it through that elastic, or I should say put that hook through that elastic. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that extension just like so, hook it to the crochet hook, and we're gonna pull it through. Okay, you see how now it's loose? I'm able to pull that extension through. Then I'm gonna tie it so it's like locked in there, making sure that the hair extension is right in the middle. And then that way, once we start braiding it, because it's long hair now, we're not dealing with short hair. The long hair is going to make the braid last. It will be holding the braid together much more easier versus our short hair at the very nape area. So again, I'm getting the crochet hook, I'm hooking the extension, and then of course make sure that it is loose. That way it can pull through. If you don't loosen it, it's going to be very difficult to get the crochet hook and that extension through. And then you're going to just be clipping it off. We're going to do that 2 more times, getting the crochet hook, getting the extension, and pulling it through, and making sure that that extension is right in the middle, and then tying it so it's secure. I want to mention that this does not have to be perfect, okay? The back of your head, because the braid is going to be covering those elastics, it doesn't have to be perfect partings, because I know it can be difficult to do it on yourself and like look at the mirrors and try to get it right. You can see right here, these partings are definitely not perfect at all. I just want to make sure that this is secure and the braids are not going to go anywhere. Now for the start of our braids, we want to make sure we get a little triangle section and then we part that away. Then we're going to get our hair extension, and we're going to be using these as like different legs, like different strands on our braid. So you'll see right here, I get my extensions. This is going to be my middle strand. This big section is going to be the middle strand. Then the outer sides of each of the legs of the extension is going to be our other strands, the outer strands. And before we start, you want to make sure your hands are facing downwards, our palms facing down, and we're going to be connecting the very triangle section at the top to where our elastics are in the back. So we have to make sure that our hands are braiding in a way that it is going to be connecting each other. As we go, I'm going to explain more, but that is the goal. We're going to be braiding so it's like in this line towards the back of those elastics. Let's get into finger placement. We're going to have our actual hair, that triangle section, as our middle strand. Then the outer sides, each leg of the extensions are going to be the outer strands, the outer legs. Both of the end strands are going to be between our middle finger and ring finger. So we're going to be always making sure that the end strands will be between those 2 fingers. Now, the middle strand, we're going to be going back and forth into our index finger and our thumb. I call them my crab fingers. So I'm pinching one side to the other side. And you want to make sure that you're going to be going underneath each time when you pinch. So you can see right over here, I'm pinching with my index finger and thumb, and I'm making sure that I'm braiding under each strand. Now my hand is free. We're going to try to make a knot in the front of the braid, okay? So not adding any extensions just yet. And now we're going to pinch and go under one more time. So grab that new outer strand, okay, because we had already braided before. Now this is going to be our new outer strand. We're putting it into the right finger placement between our middle finger and ring finger, making sure it's super close to the scalp, going underneath the middle, our new middle strand. See, I'm lifting it up just like so, okay? Outer strand. This is going to be our new middle strand that I'm lifting up, going underneath, and then I'm pinching just like so. Okay, now we can see right over here, it's our new knot. My hand is free, and this is great. When your hand is free like this, now you can go ahead and start forming the braid. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our actual hair to that side. Just a little bit. You saw with my fingers, I just grabbed new hair. Then with my free hand, I am going to be adding the hair extension. I'm using my thumb and index finger and stretching that hair extension out, and then adding that into my index finger and thumb, those pinching fingers. And I'm making sure it's nicely and secured, pinching it really close to the scalp. My other hand is free. And now we're gonna have that 2 strands right over here. You can see that's gonna be our outer strand. So where does our outer strand go? I'm gonna be like Dora the Explorer over here. Going into our middle finger and ring finger, then lifting up that new middle strand up, and then braiding underneath and pinching with that index finger and ring finger. Now we can focus on the other side. So let's go ahead and we're gonna add new hair in. Okay, just like so. Remember, our hand is free on the other side, so we can do this. and then grabbing new hair extension in, and then just adding that into our pinching fingers, and then making sure that's super close to our scalp into the right finger placement, our middle finger and ring finger, braiding underneath, pinching, and then we're adding new hair, okay? So you kind of get the rhythm of what's happening here. I also want to mention that if you put a little bit of the pomade product, it will help to make the strands way more easier to grab. It makes the braid more cleaner and gets rid of all the little frizzy baby hairs. So definitely recommend using a pomade, and take your time with this. This is going to be a little bit difficult in terms of having your arms up in the air to try to get like clean partings. Throughout the process, I was tending, like I had to literally take a little breaks here and there because my elbows are up in the air, and to try to keep it up there to add in the extensions can be a lot. So really take your time with this. This is a style that will last like a week. So, I mean, if you take good care of it, of course, and I'll tell you how to do that in just a minute. I do want to mention too, each time that I'm going to one side of the braid and I'm adding extension on the other side towards the top of my head, I'm also adding extension. There is a purpose for that. Because I have like colored extensions, I really want the color to be visible throughout the braid. Some people, when they're braiding, they'll just add the extension on the right side, for example, and they won't do it on the other side. If you're a beginner, you can definitely do that. The only thing I will say is the color will not be as prominent. So take your time, maybe put like small little strands each time you're adding in, especially if you're a beginner, so it's not so much hair that you're grabbing each time. And if you really want that color to show, then you can put the extensions on both sides, like how I'm doing on this video. If you have like, for example, if I have my brown hair and I'm adding brown extensions, I don't necessarily have to put it on both sides. I could just put it on one side and then it will be super easy to put, because I'm not like trying to blend it in and trying to have that blonde show. So I hope that helps. And I do want to mention, I'm going to repeat the same process again with the steps on the other side of my hair. Unfortunately, my camera died at some point of this side and I'm really sad about it. But I will show you guys how I do it again, just so you have like a really clear understanding on each step of how I braid the hair. And the reason for me to even keep this side on the video is so that I'm really showing it clearly how I add in the extensions on this side. See right over here, you'll see I'm doing the same steps. And I will also show you how I'm braiding towards the back of my head, again, because my camera died. So bear with me here, and I will tell you the same process again. It just kind of, I go really slow in the other side when I was first filming. So, but I will repeat my steps again. So buckle down and get ready with me. So again, we're getting a small triangle section like so, and that's going to be our middle part. And then we're gonna go ahead and make sure we get the extension, and both sides of the ends of the extensions are gonna be the outer legs, all right? We wanna also make sure as we braid, we are gonna go towards the back of where I had initially the elastics. So keep that in mind as we braid. So we're starting from the very tip, and then as we braid, we're gonna connect it to those elastics. Now, finger placements, as you guys know, make sure that the ends of the extensions are between the middle finger and ring finger. And then you're gonna be pinching each time going under. We have our index finger and thumb as well, aka our crab fingers. And then each time as you go, you're gonna go nice and slow. You're gonna be braiding each time underneath. You're gonna be grabbing new hair from your scalp, adding the extension, pinching, making sure that all the hair is into the right finger placement, and braiding under and pinch. And then doing the same thing on the other side. Let's repeat one more time. We are adding new hair from the scalp and then adding extension. Stretch that extension from the thumb and then the index finger. Place it into our crab fingers. Grabbing that new outer strand into the right finger placement. our middle finger and ring finger and just braid underneath each time. So again, I do want to really stress this. You need to make sure your hands is as close to the scalp as possible. Okay, I feel like I've said this in all of my videos, but I really mean it. You need to have your fingers super close to the scalp and super close to that forming braid. Otherwise, these braids are not going to come out cute. They're going to be loose. They're going to be wonky. We do not want ugly braids, okay? So take your time with this. Do little extensions so it's not overwhelming for you, just to, especially if you're a beginner. And just take your time, because with all good things, it takes a little time. And make sure as you're braiding, you are braiding in the direction that is going towards those elastics in the back of the head. We want to make sure it's like covering the elastics. So as you're braiding, just head towards the elastics, if that makes any sense. It's like a line. You are going from the start of the braid, where I was at the triangle section, and then heading towards that elastic. I swear, if you get this down, it's like super simple. The only thing is just to keep those elbows up, make sure it's super close to the scalp, and then you're gonna nail this style, I promise. Take your time. What I will say too, some more like tips on this style. Using pomade, of course, using a comb if you need to really help getting those like clean partings. The more smaller sections you take, it's gonna be more defined, more cleaner braids. I also do want to mention too, as I'm braiding each time, I am trying to make that blonde extension really pop out. So I'm kind of pushing my actual hair and like trying to cover the extension over my actual hair, because I don't want any brown to be visible on the braids. It doesn't look seamless. It doesn't look clean, if that makes any sense. It just kind of looks like, okay, there's brown and blonde in there, and I just kind of want it to be more predominantly blonde. So each time as I'm adding extension in and before I'm like starting to braid under, I get a little bit of my pomade, and then I kind of try to cover the extension over my hair. It also, of course, like I said, it is super important to have the pomade to really help get your hair covered, and just keep twisting it with your hand until you're okay with how it looks like. I did my very best. I was trying to make sure that I'm filming and trying to get the right angles for you guys, but definitely if you put more hair extension in there, it can definitely cover a lot more of your actual hair. So that's another tip for you guys. So now I'm at the part where I'm at the extensions in the back, my elastics that I've been telling you guys about in the back. You can see right over here, I am grabbing it now with my hands. Like I can feel it, and I am making sure that it is attached. You can see right there, my index finger and thumb is holding that extension. I added new hair to my head, from my head, I should say. And then I added also the extension. I'm still keeping the same motion, same method. And yeah, you just keep doing the same thing and making sure you're holding on to these elastics, because we want to make sure that braid is covering the elastic. But like I said, same method. I am still you putting the right finger placement, still adding my hair. Well, at this point I can't really add any more of my hair because we're at the back, and all of my hair is with the extension. So as I'm holding that extension, I'm basically adding my hair from the extension, if that makes any sense. So you see how I'm pinching right there. I'm grabbing all this hair, braiding underneath, and then that's it. So I guess I'm not really adding my hair, but I am adding still a little bit of the extension. I do want to say too, you probably are like, okay, Natalie, you are not putting the finger placement. What is happening over here towards the back? At this point, it is really difficult to have it in the right finger placement because there's so much hair. So we're gonna, in my case, I just have to grab everything together and still be braiding underneath each time. So I'm still like using my index finger and thumb for adding the extensions in there, but still, instead of using my middle finger and ring finger where my outer legs would be, the outer strands would be, because they're so thick, I'm just grabbing my whole hand and then braiding underneath. Now, if you put way less extensions than what I did, then you wouldn't have this problem. But I will say if you put less extensions towards the back, depending on how much hair you have, it might be tricky to cover your actual hair. The key is to have a lot more extension, therefore you can cover your actual hair, therefore the style will last way longer. So I'm making sure at this point I'm towards the nape. I am super close to the scalp as possible. Notice my palms are so close to my neck. It is ridiculous, okay? And that's where I just want my hands to be as close as I can to the forming braid. If you don't do this, the braid will come out. It won't last as long. So you want to make sure you're super close as you're braiding going downwards. And yeah, then the rest is super easy. You just braid down. And if you guys just keep to this style, make sure you're braiding over the elastics. It's using the same method. You will really be able to do this on yourself. This style is really cool because you can keep it for 1 week, just depending on how well you keep it. Make sure to have a silky scarf or maybe a bonnet or possibly a do-rag that will really keep the braids lasting a long time. I will say maybe put some mousse too that will keep it for a long time. You don't have to do it every day. You can do it every other day so it doesn't get like super sticky or uncomfortable with that product always on your head. And then yeah, I just seal it with the elastic towards the end, making sure it's all even. What I like to do so the elastics don't show, I use a little bit of the extension. I make sure I use my crochet hook, and then I'm wrapping around the elastic with my extension. That way you will not see that elastic anymore, and it looks so much more better, and it looks very clean, if that makes any sense, because we don't want any black showing. We want it to be all blonde. And yeah, and then I just pull it through and then make sure that it's even on the other side. You can definitely dip it in hot boiling water to just at the ends of your extensions to make it more realistic in terms of not making those ends super stiff and just it doesn't look as natural looking. So you can definitely dip it in hot water. Now you can see over here, since my hair is still super short, this is just live, nothing is perfect. We can put a little bit of the pomade, and then what is a good trick to do is literally get those little like I'm calling it baby hairs, the ends of my hair. I'm getting my crochet hook, I'm hooking it, and then I'm pulling through. I'm using it as like little pockets, if that makes any sense. Like I'm using my crochet hook, pulling it through, and then taking the ends of my hair so then it's like inside the braid. And yeah, like I said, if you put way more extension in, you put more product in, you actually take the time, you will not have probably this situation where I'm trying to cover it. But if you do, and you're wearing these braids for a couple of days and you start to notice that your hair is like popping out, totally normal. This is life. You just go ahead and use that crochet hook. It works every time for me, and you put a little bit of the product and then you're good to go. And yeah, we are all done here, guys. I hope you really liked this video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below on the video. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is small and still on process of growing, so please support the channel by subscribing and commenting and sharing it with other people. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and I hope this video helped you guys. Bye.